So let's start with your age, your name, and when you joined the Church of the Almighty God, and when you came to South Korea.
My name is Shiji, and I'm 38 years old. I came to South Korea on June 21st, 2016. I started to believe in Almighty God in 1999.
Have you been married before you came?
No.
So why did you leave China? Tell us the story.
It is because of the persecution of the government.
Can you tell us about this persecution? Have you been
Arrested?
Have you been arrested sometime? Or?
Yes, I was arrested in April 2009. One night at 8 p.m., I was walking on the road with one sister. Suddenly, 3 plainclothes police officers came out of nowhere from behind us and pushed us into a black car. The whole process felt like kidnapping. Then they took us to a public security bureau. After we went to the public security bureau, they took away all our money, bank cards, and materials of the church. Then they stripped us naked and conducted a body search. During that night, 2 male police officers interrogated me. They asked me where my church was, who my leaders were, and where the church money was. I didn't say anything, so they grabbed my head, slapped me fiercely across my face, and beat me up. I asked them, "We didn't break any law or commit any crime. Why did you arrest us? It is stated in the constitutional law that everybody has the right to religious freedom. Why are you treating us like this?"
Good.
The police replied, "In China, believing in God is committing crime. The CCP is the law. If the CCP says you break the law, then you break the law." Since I didn't confess anything, they started to torture me. They dragged me to a high window with iron bars and used 2 pairs of handcuffs, with half of the handcuffs on my hands and the other half attached to the window bars, leaving me standing on my toes. Then they beat me up fiercely with books and continued to interrogate me. One police officer pointed at a sign on the wall which read, "Law Enforcement with Good Manner," and said, "Do you know what the Public Security Bureau is? It is an institution of violence of the CCP. Speak up, otherwise you will get what is coming." Another police officer found a long band and tied one end of the band to my feet, the other end to an iron chair. Then 2 police officers dragged the iron chair to one side, leaving me hanging in the air. As a result, the teeth of the handcuffs got stuck into the back of my hands, leaving me in excruciating pain.
I want to ask, before you said they told you that the Public Security Office is an institution of violence for the CCP. They said that?
Yes.
Incredible. Incredible.
One police officer lifted his foot and stomped on my calf, making me swing from side to side. And he said, "I'll make you swing if you keep silent." Blood got trapped under the skin on my wrists, and they were turning really red. Seeing that I confessed to nothing, they kept making me swing for 20 minutes. Then they kicked the iron chair back to its original position, and my feet were dragged along with it. The police officers untied the band so that I was barely able to touch the ground. The cuffs, which got stuck into the back of my hands, loosened. All of a sudden, blood started to run through the veins of my arms, which caused me unbearable pain. They went on to interrogate me, and if I kept silent, they would slap me across the face. This lasted for 15 minutes. Later, they tied me to the iron chair and made me hang in the air. It was the same torture method again. Then they made me swing. About 20 minutes later, they interrogated me again. Seeing that I still said nothing, they used a mineral water bottle to beat me up and poked my ribs really hard with the top of the bottle. Then a fat police officer came in and asked other officers if I had said anything. They said I didn't say anything, and then the fat officer kept hitting me fiercely before ordering the other two cops to hang me in the air like before. They kept repeating this torture, during which they did not stop interrogating me. My hands were tied to the window for 12 hours until 9 a.m. the next morning. Before they put me down, I found it difficult to breathe and felt that my head was about to explode, and I was going to die. The next morning, I asked to use the bathroom. It was not until then did the police officers unlock my cuffs. I was so weak that my whole body collapsed the moment I stood on the ground. Two male officers dragged me to the bathroom. In the bathroom, since I couldn't feel my hands, I could do nothing but lean against the wall. Suddenly, one police officer came in and started to pull down my pants. The door was open. There were many male officers outside staring at me and saying dirty words. At that moment, I thought, I'm only in my 20s. I'm still young. I really can't bear this humiliation. If I could move my legs, I would definitely jump out of the window from the second floor. Later, two officers dragged me back to the interrogation room and took turns to push and beat me up. Then I collapsed on the ground. Before long, half of my body, my left chest and leg, suddenly went into spasm. They said I was pretending to be ill and continued to kick me. Finally, one of them seemed to realize my terrible condition and asked two officers to move my arms and legs, but they failed. Then they were certain I was in danger and put me on the iron chair with my hands and feet cuffed. Later, since the interrogation had to stop, they left me in the room with two officers watching me. Then they went to the room next door, where the sister who was arrested along with me was interrogated. There were quite a few officers beating her fiercely. I could hear the sister crying out in pain and the police officers dragging an iron chair. I stayed in the interrogation room for 5 days and 6 nights without having any food or water. I felt like I was about to die. When they saw that I was really in danger, they took me to the hospital. Since my hands were seriously swollen, they looked like 2 puffy loaves of bread. The skin over the swollen areas looked stretched and shiny, and those areas were filled with pus. The doctor tried to put me on an IV of glucose, but wherever they tried to insert the needle, it would start to swell, and blood would come out. They were unable to get an IV on me. At that time, half of my body went into spasm again. The doctor told the officers that I had heart diseases and suggested sending me to the #1 hospital in that city. But the police refused.
Police refused?
They said there was no need to bother as long as I was still alive. Then they took me back to the interrogation room. Later, they took me to the Public Security Bureau. My feet were so swollen that I couldn't put my shoes on, and other parts were also seriously swollen. My breath was very weak. 1 day later, they transferred me to the detention center.
But is there anything after you left detention. What happened then? Did you decide to flee to the south? Right?
I was kept in the detention center for 1 year and 3 months. During that time, my family was not allowed to visit me or contact me. Later, I was sentenced to 3.5 years. I got released in October 2012. While I was incarcerated, the police searched my house 2 times. My parents had to flee. After I was released, I thought the nightmare was finally over. But it turned out that the police officers kept monitoring me since then. Later, the CCP government asked the police officers to take believers of our church who had been arrested back to prison.
So they would monitor those who were arrested once, and you didn't feel secure anymore, so you just wanted to escape.
Yes.
Are you ready that your story is published, or do you have anything to fear?
Nothing.
This is quite an incredible story. Thank you.
Thank you.
You was a very strong lady.